Welcome to the Gabe Gallucci Golf Show.
What's going on, everybody? Welcome back to another episode of the Gabe Gallucci Golf Show. And guys, Dave is back. What up, sir? How are you?
My friend, it's been a minute. How you been?
I know it's been a while. It's a couple weeks. All the snow. You know, we've had some great interviews on the show, but nothing beats having the boys. You know, just like the crew is here. I've been great though.
It's good to be back. Lots of exciting things to chat about too.
Yeah.
We had our big equipment release cycle.
Yep. The sicko season, all of the above is in full effect.
Full effect. I know we were texting there during the PGA show, catching track of all the new stuff that's coming out. Anything interest you? Catch your eye so far this year?
You know, it's interesting that seems like behind the scenes, every single equipment manufacturer has kind of joined forces on this 10K movement. So I do find it interesting that it seems like they've all simultaneously decided that this is the area to go. I am curious to try the Ping 10K Max. That's probably, of everything I've seen so far, the one thing that consistently I would be willing to really want to give a test to. Everything else, I don't know. You know what? I've had a couple friends who have tried the new Callaway irons, the CBs, they were playing the TCBs. They do not like the CBs.
Interesting.
Relative, because I don't think they're carrying the TCBs anymore, and there's like only a tour only model of them, and they do not like the CBs compared to the TCBs.
Interesting.
So
any reason why or what?
Apparently, it's just the look. The offset. Apparently, it just doesn't look or feel as good or as forgiving. And obviously, the TCBs don't have a ton of forgiveness, but it's just not nearly as good. And so I thought that was really interesting. And I don't know. Everything else, I'm kind of like, I haven't really, I don't know. It just seems there's a lot of driver stuff. The Chrome Tour X ball, the Chrome Tour and the Tour X, that's another one. I'm going to a Callaway event here in a week and a half or so to kind of get more of an update on that and learn more. But I got a sleeve of each from Chris here at Cultus and to test out. So I'm curious to see if that might become an option versus the Bridgestone, what I'm using right now. Because some of my best rounds ever were with the Chrome Soft X. And
Nice.
Apparently this Chrome Tour is supposed to be just their best thing they've created.
Awesome.
Yeah, how about you? Where have you been inclined to start throwing the credit card down?
I've withheld on purchases for the most part. I've been pretty good. I'm going to get a fitting here later this month, and we'll see what that triggers for new purchases in the future. I did hit the Ping 10K, consistent all over the face. Really, really good results. I actually wasn't swinging my best.
Really?
And I saw faster ball speed and faster club head speed than my current gamer.
Really?
So, yeah. So it was impressive. I hit the PXG Black Ops.
Okay.
It was super impressive off center hits. I don't think it had the same forgiveness as the Ping. Off center started to drop off a fair bit, got a little spinny inside on the heel.
Okay.
But I'm curious. I saw the guys at golf.com tested the Cobra Dark Speed.
Yeah.
And Cobra always make a good driver, and it kind of flies under the radar. And apparently they're saying this year's maybe another one of those unicorn drivers like the Cobra LDX. So it'll be interesting to try that, see how that goes.
Yeah, it's interesting. You know, I never think to test Cobra. I don't have access to it. And honestly, you know what's annoying about testing stuff too? Is that like to get your spec of shaft with to find something with a Cobra tip on it.
Yeah.
Like a lot of places just aren't set up for that. But I have heard good things. I think it was the golf.com guys, right? It's like that Dark Speed Max was getting crazy dispersion, but that's not really a driver for me. That's why I think the Max 10K is so interesting, is because I've seen guys with my speed get really good results with it. And like even seeing Peter Finch's review of it, seeing some other reviews where guys are kind of putting it head to head versus the TaylorMade, and like the TaylorMade just seems to have this like high knuckle, like not knuckler, but like the high spin ball where if you don't hit it perfectly out the middle, it like you lose all that yardage. versus the pings seem to kind of retain it. So were
Well, and that's what I
you were
saw.
seeing
Like
that in testing?
I hit about a dozen shots, and the spin was anything from like 21 to 24. It was all perfect and consistent. And I think it was you were the one that sent me the video link to Ian at Club Champion Canada, and he was hitting the TaylorMade.
Yeah.
And some of them were getting really spinny up into the 3000s and that. So,
Well, and you even watch his, like, if you watch his start lines, and it just seemed like if he was, gun to his head, had to hit the fairway, it seemed like in that video, the 10K max, the pings version was going to do it for him. And it kept the spin down, which is like massive. So I'm curious to try that. I'm gonna they've got a ping fitting day up here in
Nice.
2 weeks, so I'm gonna be able to test that out. And my LST should finally be in, so I should be able to test that out. And we've got something else to test it against too, because we're a lunatic. But we're gonna get to that later.
We're going to get there.
Did you watch any of the LIV or the PGA Tour stuff this weekend?
I did. I watched the PGA Tour up and through Saturday. As of recording this, I guess the tournament's been canceled or shortened to 54 holes. So Wyndham and Clark is our winner.
Yeah.
How did you feel about 80 players, no cut? This is the first of those signature events with no cut.
I don't know. The thing that I would say, the thing that I'm seeing from following Monday Q Info and just seeing some stuff online, and it's kind of what you and I talked about, like I think it was on the first or second podcast. It's going to be very hard for new players to make it into the signature events once these really get rolling. Yeah. Like your ability to move up and move in becomes very hard. And then you don't, I don't know. Cause like what a great story with Nick Dunlap and Matthew Pavon, who won, but now he's in the signature events. So, I don't know. I think the romance of the PGA Tour is the storylines of that. On any given week, something crazy can happen, right? Yep. And where LIV kind of sells it is that like we know exactly who's playing, and you're going to get 54 holes, and everyone's playing, and every shot matters because of the team. And I think it's just almost like it's two different things entirely. But for the PGA Tour, I think what I love about the PGA Tour is that, and you can Monday in and you can go. And you get guys like Corey Connors who can Monday in and then win. Yeah. And like, I think those stories are the best. And selfishly, as somebody who is trying to be a pro golfer, I think like keeping that meritocracy and romance of golf, that's what fires me up. But I don't know and other thing too, I'll be honest, I didn't watch a ton of the AT&T because flipping back and forth between LIV and the AT&T broadcast, you get so angry with the amount of commercials and lack of golf that I almost was. It was. I'm like, well, I get to watch John Rahm, DJ, Rocco Neiman's on an absolute heater this year. I think he's won 2 DP World events and now this. Like the quality of golf I get to watch and the frequency of golf shots. And then I flipped over to the AT&T and I saw like Ludwig hit, I saw Rory hit, I saw 2 putts, and then it was a commercial. And now I'm like, what am I doing? So I don't know. That's long and the short of it is like, I'm sure the signature events are going to be cool for the PGA Tour. The way they do the broadcast now, when you can have LIV and at back to back, becomes glaringly obvious how brutal it is.
Yeah, I thought the playoff with Neiman and Garcia was really, really good on LIV. I watched that. Yeah. And that was the first time I was riveted to a LIV broadcast. I thought it was really well done. I can't stand the regular LIV broadcast with that podium on the left taking up, a quarter of the screen and a constant scoreboard.
I like it. But I think, you know what I think though? It feels like YouTube golf to me a bit in how they do their graphics. And I don't mean that in a bad way. But I think if you watch a lot of YouTube golf and you're used to those kind of things on the screen.
Yep.
And like if you watch F1, it's like that. And you can track it all. So I really like it because I know where everyone stands at all times. I know where the team standings are. And honestly, I really like the team stuff, man. I don't know, with Rahm's team now and all this stuff, and I feel like their marketing's gotten a little better too. I don't love all the team names, but one thing I did really like about Sunday's round, I didn't watch the end, but I watched half of it before I went out to practice. The fact that every team member still matters on Sunday. So they may be out of it individually, but like take Rom's team, Kieran Vincent and Caleb Surratt still had to do their job for the team to win, right? They weren't going to win the individual title, but their score still mattered. And I think like that reminds me of like F1, of like the Constructors Championship and things like that. It was like so many times, a PGA Tour broadcast, you can only follow the featured group. And so you basically watch them hit, and then you got to wait for them to walk down the fairway. And then, they'll show you a shot if somebody does something cool. But it doesn't matter. They don't do a good job of showing you why the guy, in T20 is going to keep his card because of doing that. Like there's so many of those storylines they do a terrible job of showing.
Yeah.
Whereas with Live, what I do like is that this team element, it's like everyone counts on Sunday.
Well, that's new though. This is the first time.
Right, but I think that's so much better. I think that's so much better.
That's an improvement.
Yeah.
So 54 holes, 72 holes, I don't know if I really care about that. I like the fact everyone's score counts on Sunday. I do wish they would move away from the shotgun on Sunday. I do think, and it happened last year, you've got someone finishing on 6 and someone finishing on 18. I think Sunday's round should be more traditional tee times, go and stack your leaders at the end of the round.
Yeah,
that's just
and I can see that. But I do really like the broadcast window being so I you know what, like that's a good point. Well, to counter, like I think the PGA Tour should go to a shotgun start on Thursday and Friday.
Agreed. Totally.
And I think if they went to a shotgun start on Thursday and Friday and showed way more shots, I think it would be way more compelling.
Yeah.
So I don't think the shotgun start is that bad for those 2 days. For Live, I can see what you're saying of like, it puts people in weird pockets. But then the other thing too, I wonder from a fan's perspective, right? If we're thinking about like, if you're at the event, if when I went to the Canadian Open, right? As soon as the players rip through that hole and they're done for the day, you're done.
Yeah.
Like you only get to see that, right? Whereas I wonder if from a fan's perspective, you can just park yourself and you get golf the whole day and you get to see the whole tournament unveil, and each player's hole is different for them because of where they are. I also think that's very interesting.
Yeah, listen, I don't mind, as I say. I think the shotgun start of the week is actually a great idea. It's a little hard on the PGA Tour because your field is bigger, so you'll have to have a morning wave and afternoon wave.
But I think I don't know. I think that imagine shotgun starts Thursday, Friday, right? Morning wave shotgun, afternoon wave shotgun. Your broadcast windows are tight. I don't know. I'm be curious what it would do for pace of play.
Yeah,
I think that'd be great. But sorry, you're going to say like, what were you going to say?
Well, I mean, it all comes down to sponsors, right?
I know.
What does the money want?
I know. And that's where Liv's flexibility right now is interesting. And then you saw their new thing with Google. They're basically going to be able to show every shot.
I did.
Like, I love that. Because I watch a ton of highlights. Like, I learn a lot from watching highlights and watching other players. I've probably watched every Tiger video, full round or highlight package on the internet. Same with Brooks. Same with DJ. Same with John Rahm. The amount of shots I can watch and learn from and see how they attack their whole rounds. I think Liv does a really good job of that. And if they're going to give me this now, where I can, like, I'll go watch Cam Smith putt, just watch all of his putts. Like, there's so much to be learned from that. That's a huge value for me. I would subscribe and pay, like, and get a Liv viewership membership for that, for sure.
Yep. You saw the other big news. PGA Tour got $3 billion injection from SSG Sports.
Yeah, and I didn't really look into it enough yet, but the PIF's not involved in that, right?
No, they're not.
Right. So
basically, it was so there's $1.5 billion investment as of last week, with another $1.5 billion to come. It valued the PGA Tour at a $12 billion valuation. And so SSG is this group. It's owned by like Cohen, who owns the New York Mets.
Yeah.
Owner of the Boston Red Sox is in that group. I think Liverpool is included in that group. So in Euro football, so quite a big investment fund with a big valuation on the PGA Tour now. It's a
Right.
for-profit entity.
Yeah, that's interesting. You know what? We'll see. I think it was Max Homer Morikawa I saw had a statement that said, hopefully with guys who are running it now that are profit driven, it will make the PGA Tour better at creating a fan experience that will get us all engaged and love it. Because it's not that I don't like PGA Tour golf. I just don't like the way it's packaged and presented. I would love to see these tournaments, their Waste Management this week. There are so many things that can be done with that tournament. First of all, the Monday qualifier for that tournament is like the Super Bowl of Monday qualifiers. It used to be the Honda, but now apparently it's this one. And why is there no lead up on that to just get some insight to understand, right? Like let's cover that. Then you can lead into the entire week. And then if they could show more shots, I just want to see more golf. Like more golf.
See, I don't think necessarily though tournaments like the Waste Management are the ones that are going to be in trouble. Like the ones that they need to fix. So if you're the RBC Canadian Open, right? And you're RBC, neither of your events now, not Harbour Town nor the Canadian Open, are signature events, right? The Canadian Open gets shuffled around the schedule, and I think it's in another crappy spot this year, like before or after the Open. I'd have to double check.
I think it's Canadian Open Memorial than the U.S. Open.
Yeah. So those are the tournaments that they really have to figure out. Because if you're sitting there and you're RBC, it's like, why am I putting 20, 30 million into these tournaments, right? With diluted fields, not guaranteed the best players in the world. Like, I think those are the tournaments that are going to really have to figure out where they stack. And then I begin to wonder, like, at what point does a tournament, like if you're the Canadian Open, right, do you just not affiliate yourself with the PGA anymore?
Yeah, I don't know.
Do you need to be?
Yeah.
Like.
Yeah, you do. You do. I don't know. It'd be interesting. Like, I think I just hope they make it more compelling. They just make it. I never watch an NFL game, even if it's a blowout, and go, man, I haven't watched enough football. Like they don't cut me to commercial in the middle of somebody throwing a pass.
Well, that's easy when there's only 15 minutes of actions in a 4-hour broadcast.
Totally, but I'm just saying, like the way they advertise, there's got to be a better way to do the native advertising. There's just I understand broadcast contracts and things, and there's stipulations and fine, but there's got to be a better way to do native broadcasting for golf. They just need somebody to think of it differently and package it differently, Like I knew TurboTax or Intuit was one of the big sponsors for the NFL, and they found a way to slam that ad, but I don't remember seeing a tax ad. I just know they sponsored it, and it was like they were hammering that, right? So there's just, I don't know, just show me more golf. Find a way to show me more golf, and I would be infinitely more happy.
There you have it, folks. Gabe has spoken. Show him more golf.
Show me more golf. It'd be interesting. We'll see. Hey, listen, none of these guys want to lose money. These are all big players, and so that is encouraging because none of them want to lose money, and they all want it to be successful. And so that means stuff is going to happen. And if they run it more corporate, less like a charity, hopefully there's less bloating. Money gets directed to the right areas. Everyone wins. But
speaking of
tournaments, Dave,
one of the two of us had a tournament this past weekend.
We had our first tournament of the year. We are in it. Guys, listen, I told you in 2024, it is game time. It looks like, so I did my schedule. It looks like from now until end of August, there's going to be 25 tournaments, potentially 26 tournaments. We're just waiting on a couple dates to come out to see if I can make it all make sense. But that is what we're looking at to hopefully play an entire schedule of that. And so we had our first one this past weekend at Tsawwassen Springs, Vancouver Winter Tour. So I think there's 5 or 6 Winter Tour events left. Let's see, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Yeah, there's 6 left. So there's 7 total. And the Winter Tour events are great because they're, I'm looking at these as like learning. Like this is how I can they're 1-day events. They've moved the format to Stableford, which is okay. But I'm, it's a good way to just like get in there, learn, and kind of take some lessons from it. And so we shot 76 in the tournament, which
was how many points was that?
30 points.
Okay.
30 points.
For anyone that, I assume most people listen to this know, but for anyone that doesn't know, do you want to take a moment and explain how Stapleford works?
To be honest, Dave, I don't truly 100% understand Stapleford, to be clear. I kind of, the way it went, like, because when I played this event, like I understand it's a Stableford tournament, but I kind of treat it more like a stroke play event in terms of my strategy and what I'm doing, because that is what I'm trying to learn from and do. But I think it's the only thing I do know is that if you get more than a double, you just pick it up.
Yeah, so basically, there's a few different ways to play it. I think you were playing modified, if I read the rules correctly. But basically, there's traditional Stapleford, modified, and a few other versions. But you basically accumulate points for your performance. So instead of being over under par, a bogey is usually worth 0 points. Double bogey is worth negative points. Some versions even triple bogeys, but I think the way the VGT plays it is double bogey pickup. And then, pars will usually be worth anything from 1 to 2 points. Birdies worth 3 to 5. Eagles can be worth 5 to 8, sometimes 10. So the rules committees will set forth how many points each actual action on a hole is worth. And then it's basically over 18 holes, whoever gets the most points wins. And the idea is to kind of make it a shootout, make players play aggressively.
Yeah, and it's great. And like I said, like I kind of keep the Stableford thing in my mind, but I'll be honest, when I'm playing, my whole point is to try and figure out what works in a tournament and what doesn't. Overall, probably the best I've ever hit the ball in a tournament. Like ball striking wise, first tournament I did not feel like an absolute idiot playing.
Nice.
I think I've walked into every tournament like feeling like I was cramming for a test and hoping that something would show up, and then would kind of go, nope, this isn't it. And then have to go to the range after. And if it was a 2-day event, I would kind of find something by the second day, but it's never been, there haven't been many tournaments where I've like gone in there and felt like I could really hit the ball and what I've been doing was good. And I think that was the biggest positive coming out of it. Ball striking wise and what I'm doing swing wise is totally in the right direction of where I need to go.
Well, let's walk through the bag then. We can start at the top. Like how did like tee shots go? How did off the tee go? Driver,
So
or whatever.
it's a shorter course. So it's the way they kind of defend that. I think it's just under 6,000 yards from the tips. So the way they defend that course is like it's very tight. It's very much a first shot golf course and then putting. So off the tee, everything was great. I only hit driver about 3 times there because that's really all that's available to you. And then the rest is irons and the odd hybrid here and there. And the big thing for me was making sure that I had committed swings on all of those. Particularly, there are a couple par 4s there where you have to hit basically a 200-yard shot, and then there's OB left and water right, and so there's not a lot of room to mess around, and so you gotta. And you can't really lay back because the greens are tiny or their slopes are where they put the pins. So you can't play it too safe because then your second shot is really tough, right? Like, so I was really pumped from having played here before of how committed I was on all my tee shots. Like,
nice,
like really good. A couple of them, specifically on the par 3s, I was just didn't have the best result. Just some wind direction things and just I got to add a couple things to my arsenal. kind of some like low draws on a couple of them that I would have done a little better. But overall, very pleased with that off the tee. The approach game, I would say, but honestly, it was really good except for 3 wedges. Like a lot of the issue. So the winning score, if you're going to look at like pure stroke play, was 65, right? So it's 11 shot difference and that's in the both the pro division and the champ flight division, which is I'm in the amateur champ flight division. So it was an 11 shot difference, right? And I can find those 11 shots very fast between approach play and putting. So I had 3 really poor wedges. One from 75 yards, one from 85 yards, and one from 106. And honestly, the issue was purely like tempo and getting too quick. So I got too quick on 2 of them, and one of them really bit me because I like basically launched it right over the green and had to like punch out, and that's the one I got a double on. I'll link my scorecard in the podcast description so you guys can see the results. So that was unfortunate because I hit a really good tee shot and had a really good look in. And on the previous hole, I hit a really good approach from like 118 yards. So I was like, oh, great. Like we're not that much closer in. Keep that same commitment. The feel was really good. And it was, so those 3 wedges were combined, I had bogey, and a double. So there's 4 shots right there.
Right.
Just from those poor wedges. And all of them are preventable and something that I've since gone to the range and have workshopped. It's just getting quick. It's just something this is something I've been working on with Max in my practice.
Yeah.
So it was just unfortunate because it was an unforced error.
But as you said earlier, this is what the winter tour is for. Get these
exactly. Like,
learn the problem.
Exactly. Like I'm going in with no expectations other than to see if what I'm practicing and what I'm doing actually works, right?
Yeah.
So full swing, what we know is working. Wedges, we still need to improve, and we got to definitely work on some tempo and some sinking things because if I get quick, it's game over. Putting surprised me because I've putt well here before, but the putter, I just did not make anything. I probably had 7 or 8 really good birdie looks and made only one of them, which was on hole 1. Almost drove the green, chipped it to 8.5 feet and made the putt. And I was like, okay, this is great. But just subsequently, like just made a couple really poor putts. And again, it wasn't even like anything felt particularly off. I don't know, it just wasn't it. And like, I even missed a bunch of really short ones. I had a couple lip outs. Like I had probably the shot of the day was hole 7. The holes are all weird because we teed off on number 11, but the scorecard, it's so hole 7 is actually hole 17. It's very weird. But hole 7 was 220 yard par 4, and it was like 4 degrees and raining. And I hit the best 4-iron I've probably ever hit in a tournament, and 3 putted because like I lagged it up to probably 1.5 feet, maybe 2 feet, and it lipped out. And because the pin was in just a tough spot. You're playing break sometimes outside of the hole on some of these short ones. So just stuff like that, where it was like there's definitely a lot of those putts, both for birdie and for par, that were just putts I've been so used to making, and I've been making constantly. And I putt everything out in my casual rounds. I don't take gimmies. So that was annoying because there's probably 6 shots right there, in putts.
You felt you should have had.
Absolutely. All attainable. So, when I look at the scorecard and I look at the difference between me versus the winner, it's like 3 wedges in those putts. There was no lost balls, no foul balls. There was one approach on one of the par fives on hole number 8 that I bungled a little bit. That kind of, I should have had a scoring opportunity there. So that's probably where the 11th shot comes in. But it just, just unfortunate things. Like on hole 16, I had a 3-footer for birdie on the par 5 and lipped out on the high side. And it was just a bunch of that. So,
Yeah.
so unfortunate, but again, it was the best I've come out of a tournament. Talking to Max after, talking to you after, swing wise, I've definitely feel like I could play golf committed for the first time. I wasn't trying to bunt it around and be safe.
Nice.
And I think on that kind of a course, I think like one of the things that's always been tough for me in tournaments is like I have this kind of like full swing attack mode that I can play casually, that I'm not really thinking about what I'm doing, and I can hit these cool shots, and then I'd get into a tournament and I'd really tighten up and I'd get really quick, and I have this really short swing that wasn't me. And what's really cool now is I feel like it's the same swing both times. I was hitting it high, I was hitting it hard, I was hitting it far. And I wasn't seeing some of the like stupid, like uncommitted bullshit swings that I would definitely have and have had in probably every other tournament I've played.
Good stuff.
Yeah.
I will say, when you and I chatted after the round, a sign for me, having known you all these years, is when you're fully committed on like a statement. Like I can tell by the tone of your voice when you're fully committed to something, you believe it, and you were completely pumped about your irons, your driver, how you played off the tee. I've also never heard you been so sure of anything before that your putter wasn't working. Which leads us to you. We haven't chatted since you did this, but you were going through a putter experiment post tournament. How did that go?
Yeah. So this was my first time putting this putter into play in a tournament.
And for people who forget, this is the Huntington Beach.
This is the Huntington Beach 4.
Cleveland.
Yeah. Which I've done the Quintic assessments with. I've putt really well casually with. But there's something about this putter, and I ran into this last year, and it never made it to a tournament, where it's like there are times where this putter is just, I can't miss, it feels like, and the hole feels like a hula hoop. And then there are times where just my alignment with it or something just gets slightly off, and I just start having these kind of misses, right? So I'm kind of thinking, over the course of a tournament, like a big reason why I've moved to the ping irons is because I'm not going to be great every day. So under the gun, what's going to give me just, if I don't have the perfect swing that day, what's going to at least make sure that I'm not, out of play. And I think that's what's been great about the pings, is that like my volatility is lower and I get a little bit of help, but I still retain all my creativity, and I can still be who I am. And that's been great. And that's where I think the pings have made a huge difference for me versus almost any other iron I've ever had. What I think for this putter, well, at least what I thought is, I go, you know what? Maybe there's just not enough forgiveness with the blade, so that if I do get a little quick, or if I do get a little handsy or something on a short putt, like there were quite a few short putts on the weekend that like I haven't missed in a while. So clearly there's something in my mechanics and my demeanor, and I can honestly say it's not a mental thing. Like I'm not freaking out over these putts. I'm not like, previously I could totally chalk some of this up to mental errors or being kind of in my head. I say like I was really calm out there. Like I am a night and day different person mentally. So I can also kind of come at this with some objective reason and go, you know what? There's something either technique wise or how I'm set up that is leading to some of these misses. So yesterday I went and did another 12-hole challenge, and I brought a different putter with me, and I birdied 4 out of the first 5. And so This putter's going in the bag for the next tournament.
Now
Absolutely.
we all know new putter syndrome happens,
But it's
still
it's a putter I already
that's promising.
It's a putter I already own. So it's just something that's been in the stable. It was just in the timeout closet. But I've brought back out the TaylorMade Spider Tour, the red one that I have. With the stability
OG
shaft
one from 5 years ago.
Yeah.
Nice.
So that one with the stability shaft that Rich built before he was Genuine Golf, when he was just building out of his house. He was one of the first things he ever built for me. And I went to claw grip because I've found in tournaments when I had used this putter, and my issue with this putter historically was always lag putting, right? Like I would really struggle with lag putts, but I would do really well with the short putts. I think what I'm going to see now is that with my IQ being better as a golfer, am I able to just be better with speed control and then use this to clean up all the short putts?
Nice.
So that's the play. We're going to put that in play this week and test that out. We're going to keep everything else the same. Same ball. The Bridgestone was great, honestly. Really, really good for like the conditions and everything. Like no weird spin off the green, nothing. Like that was really good. Another big piece too is some short game. Max and I have been doing a lot on the wedges, and I've got a couple different shots now that I can hit short game wise, which is also really cool. And it's unfortunate because I had a couple really cool up and downs that the putter kind of let me down on, but could have were really good chip shots. So I'm also really excited about that. But yeah, there's a new putter in the bag. So I've tested that out, and that's what's this 12-hole challenge is unreal. What I've figured out is like a training method, because I can use that, like now using that with the tournaments as like a buffer to figure things out and dial things in. Because the other change I made was I moved to I put the RDX red shaft back into my hybrid and my 3-wood, and I also went back to the G430 hybrid and 3-wood because from trying out the different experiments. One of the things, actually, you're the cause of this. When we did the What's in the Bag podcast.
Hang on, am I about to get complimented or insulted?
Complimented for your intelligence.
Okay.
When we did the What's in the Bag podcast, I remember you asking me about the length of my clubs. And they're kind of just stuck in the back of my head. Because the one thing that's never been something that anybody has ever double checked or have been able to test is shorter clubs. I'm not very tall. I think I'm maybe 5'9", 5'10" on a good day. I was going to sell some stuff and was kind of putting some gear together. And I was kind of missing, like, having tested the 425 3-wood and the hybrid, the new ones feel way better. The 430 and the hybrid and 3-wood feel way better from Ping than the old ones. So I wanted to put them back in, and then I was like, but you know what? Like, I can't be as finessey sometimes with the Ventus in them. And so when I had ordered them, they came with this hazardous RDX red shaft. And I was like, I wonder if I try it. And then I also put the two shafts together, and I noticed they're just half an inch shorter. Both of them.
Yeah.
And I was like, let's put them in and let's see how these work. And lo and behold, I can now hit that rope hook if I need to with that hybrid, but I can still hit it super high. So I can now get the best of both worlds out of that hybrid as a result of that shaft. Is that shaft going to last till the summer? I don't know, because my fear is that in the winter, it's okay when it's cold. In the summer, I don't know if I'll overload it and it might be too much. That's to be determined. But putting that into the hybrid and the 3-wood, I really, really like right now. And I had to hit one of the par 5s on this course in the tournament is basically it's a hybrid and then a hybrid, because there's a creek and you can't really carry it with driver in the winter. And it's a weird angle. So you basically lay up and then you have to hit a hybrid in. And I hit this like full hybrid out there, and then I hit this like choke down cut hybrid with the ball above my feet and made birdie on the hole. And I was
Nice.
like, okay, that's great versatility. You know, I really liked being able to do that.
I like the idea for you of having a club that you don't have to swing out of your shoes on. You know, if it's 17, you've been out there for 4.5 hours, like those Ventus black shafts, especially in that three wood and hybrid, that's a beefy shaft. You know, as the day gets tired, you've been out there for a while. I think, you know, that sounds like a nice play for you, just to know you don't have to swing out of your shoes, you know, to get it working when it's late in the round.
Yeah, and I was kind of realizing too, like, especially on some of these courses, like I need to be able to hit some of those more controlled, like knockdown hybrids off the tee and a knockdown three
Yeah.
wood off the tee to get in play. So that was really good. So anyway, so that's an improvement. That's very happy with all that. I'd say like from wedges to there, very good. Now,
Nice.
the final point of degeneracy.
Here we go. I was waiting. If you weren't going to bring this up, I was going to bring this.
I know, I appreciate it. I put a new driver in the bag. So for those of you that follow my Instagram, my boy Joe is kind of always at the range around the time I'm at the range. Now, if you do follow, you'll notice that, you know, he's like, we have this thing where I basically hit all my balls, and then at the end of the night, like when I'm at like kind of towards the end of my bucket, if I hit a really good one that I can go home on, I'm always like, okay, Joe, we're going home. Here, you can have the rest of my balls. And that was something we've been doing for months, just like randomly. And I don't have Joe's phone number. We never coordinate when we're at the range. It just so happens that we're always at the range at the same time. So this just became like a funny thing between us. Then I caught it on film one night and I posted it. And so now it's like a running thing for every time I go to the range. I make sure, you know, I go, Joe, and it's almost like Joe has to give me permission to go home until I hit a really good one. So Joe plays all Titleist gear. And one night I go to the range, and I don't know what compelled me to do this, but I decided to bring my old Ping driver, the i15, which if you're an OG subscriber of the channel, it was like the first driver I ever had in any of my videos. It's like, it's got the orange Pro Force V2 shaft, and it's this black head, and it looks amazing. And I love this driver. I've brought this driver to multiple fitters to see if they can make me something modern that can be the same as it, and no one has been able to match it. And it drives me nuts because no matter what I do, I always come back to this driver and I hit it unfucking real. But it's not as forgiving as modern drivers and whatever. So while I'm at the range, hitting the Rogue triple diamond with my Ventus, it starts to spin on me. The shaft comes out of the tip, which is a problem I've had multiple times now. So it's annoying. So I was like, great. Like, well, anyway, I'm happy. I brought my backup driver to hit some balls for fun. So I'm hitting this Ping, and I'm like, this is amazing. This is the best driver ever. And I was even debating, like, you know what? Let's just put this in the bag. Who cares? Then out of the corner of my eye, my buddy Joe, who's in the stall beside me, pulls out his TSR 3. And having that old Ping i15 side by side with the TSR, I went, wait a second.
Same profile.
This is the same looking head. And I had never hit a TSR before. Like, I had never even put two and two together. And I went, wait a second, this is the shape I've been looking for. This is the exact shape and look. So I hit his, and he's got a Tensei 1K Black 65X in it, and was crushing it. Just crushing it. And I actually caught a funny clip where I hit it, like I stripe it and I go, fuck, I need to buy this. And
lo and behold.
So again, to just go show you the level of golf sicko that I am, I then go on Facebook Marketplace, like immediately after, as soon as I get home. And don't I find somebody selling the exact same driver with the same shaft for cheap? Like cheap enough to go like, why are you doing this? So anyway, I messaged the guy. It had been up for a couple weeks, no takers. I'm like, I will meet you tomorrow. So anyway, I go grab it, and I could tell why the guy hated it, because he was about 6'3", 6'4", and this driver has clearly been cut down. Because when I brought it back, compared to my Ventus with the Rogue, it's about 1.5 inches shorter.
Interesting.
I fucking rip this driver. I have never hit the center of the face more with any other club with intention than I think any other driver I've ever owned. I don't feel like I'm fighting it. I've got it in the, I think it's the C1 setting, which is 1 degree, 1 degree down. So it's a 9-degree head. I've got it 1 degree down and 1/2 degree. It's 3/4 of a degree flat.
Right.
And then I've got the weight in the heel. And
Okay.
And what's also interesting is, of any other driver I've tried, it's the first one where I can really feel the difference in where the if there's a slider, I can really feel the difference of where that weight is moving. Like in terms of the rotation of the toe. Some of the drivers I've tried, like, the Paradigm or whatever, whenever there's that weight slider, even sometimes with the Ping, it's never felt drastic enough to, so, I typically have it in the toe. But one of the things I noticed about this one was that you really feel the face rotation change. And one of the issues I was having in general with my drives is committing to really like releasing it left. And I would always find that I'd have this like kind of wipey right miss, right? So I'm like, I'm not committing to going fully left because I'm afraid to go fully left. Right. Because I don't want to hook it. And so I kind of fight that, and then I hold it off, but then I play with a bit of an open club face. So now I'm holding off an open club face and not really committing, and then I get this wipey thing, and it drives me up the wall. And this...
So you can release this.
I can release this, and it is like great. Now, it's definitely not as forgiving as other things I've tried. But I don't miss all over the face as much as I do with other things.
It would be interesting for you to take that club to Rich and just have it spec'd out so you know.
Yes.
Before anything else happens,
100% going to do that.
What's the length? What's the swing weight? Like just so you can know that feeling going forward.
Yeah. So with now full-blown degeneracy, one of the things I'm going to test too is I'm going to take apart this Ping driver, the old i15, and I'm going to put a Titleist tip on it and see if putting this TSR into this shaft, because I think it's the combination of the shaft. I think I actually just really like that shaft. I'm going to see if I can find the magic. If not, I've got the Tensei 1K black that's amazing, and the Pro Force V2 that's in the Ping, when I measure them against the 1K black, it's a 1/2 inch longer, so it's not drastically different. But there's something about the way that shaft kicks that I think I really like, and so I'm really curious to see if I can find the magic of that Ping driver on my own by doing this Frankenstein build. If not, I've got a version that totally works. And that excites me too, because another shot that Max and I work on a lot, and it's something that I've seen him hit, is like this low bullet cut driver. And I've not been able to properly hit that in a while because I haven't found a driver that I can fully go after it and not worry about it going left.
Right.
So I've been hitting it. I hit it a little high. I've been hitting this kind of like higher ball, which has been great, but having that bullet cut, especially out here, and I've got a tournament coming up at UBC, which is your home track, which is like very tight, and like there are a couple holes where I need that ball.
Yeah.
And I was hitting a couple at the range yesterday, just kind of like working on this shot, and I'm very excited to put this in play in a tournament where I get to hit it more. But on the weekend, it was 3 for 3 on drives, so
Nice.
cannot complain.
There you have it, folks. Stay tuned next week when we have the next update in Gabe Gallucci's golf
Oh
bag.
man, I know I talk too much. I talk too much shit about you in the early episodes, and I've been the one making the changes. But I will say, I feel pretty pumped about I don't feel like I'm chasing the dragon on these changes versus other times in my golf career of psycho gear purchasing.
Yeah.
I feel like this has all been pretty like calculated and has all helped. Because I'm making that's why this 12 hole challenge has been amazing for that. Because I can kind of tell very quickly like what works and what doesn't. And then I have the tournaments to then either confirm it or tell me if I'm wrong. And so that's where I'm excited now. This week, we're going to test the new putter. This tournament coming up is at a place called King's Links, and it's I should be able to let it fly a lot more here. So I'm going to be very interested to kind of see what a full round is. Now, I will put a disclaimer. The TSR is really great. That does not mean that I also haven't hit the Ping LST in 4.5 months, and I'm going to hit the 10K. If for some reason I'm able to dial those in to be better, the TSR can be gone.
Well, and people should realize too, your Ping LST is the exact spec you were fitted for. So you did, I don't know if we talked about this, but you did that Ping fitting
in September
back in Ontario in the summer. And that's where you found your irons.
Yep.
And so this driver you've got is identical to what you were spec'd on for that during that fitting. So it'll be interesting to see how this driver performs.
Yeah, because I had a 10.5 LST before the fitting, and then it cracked. And then I have a 9 degree now coming in, which is what I was fit for. Because in the fitting,
which I think
we shot it. We did a test between the 9 degree and the 10.5 degree turn down.
Yeah.
And the 9 degree was really good. And even the 9 degree turn down was very good, which I think we're 9 degree turn down flat now based off of speed and everything. But I'd be also interested too, that was with my Ventus. And then we also tested it with the stock Ping shaft, the Tour Chrome X stiff.
Yeah.
But
to me that's going to be a way bigger difference than the Loft. Is that Chrome 65X shaft, and I'm curious to see how you hit that.
But I'm also curious too. Is like maybe I just need to have shorter driver. Like maybe if I have the Ping with all that forgiveness, maybe it's just playing way too long of a driver. Like this goes back to your comment about length of clubs. I think like maybe for my height and for everything, I'm playing clubs that were too long, and it was just. That's why I was getting stuck behind me. Like I was always feeling that the driver sometimes was just getting stuck behind me, and it was just so much work to make it happen. And when I would hit it great, it would go forever. But I don't want to have to feel like I'm working that hard. And so I'm curious to see if I try something in the same length that the TSR is in the Ping. What results will that yield?
Yep.
So anyway, that's where we're at. That's a full recap, everybody.
What do you think, Gabe? We got time for trivia before we close out today?
Yeah, hit me with the goods.
All right. So today's trivia question comes for a 10 handicapper. All right. So this is the number of strokes a 10 handicapper takes from 100 yards. And I want the number of strokes from the fairway and the number of strokes from the rough. So how many strokes from 100 yards out, fairway and rough, does a 10 handicapper on average need to get it in the hole?
The hole out. A 10 handicapper. I want to say like 4.1 from the fairway.
From the fairway?
We'll go 3.8 from the fairway.
Okay.
We'll go 4.6 from the rough.
Okay. So 10 handicappers everywhere rejoice or feel offended. Gabe has grossly underestimated your abilities. Average is 3.3 from the fairway
Okay.
and 3.5 from the rough.
Oh, wow.
The interesting thing is there only being a 0.2 difference between fairway and rough
Yeah.
from 100 yards.
I honestly, when I was a 10 handicap, I think I was better from the rough than the fairway, to be honest. I think the rough can be sometimes less scary because like the ball can be sitting up and you can just take a full whack at it. Whereas when you have like a really good lie and you're a 10 handicap and you have to hit it pure, you're kind of like, oh no. And then you hit it thin.
Yeah, exactly. Well, you have to catch it cleaner.
Exactly.
The rough covers up a lot of mistakes sometimes.
Yeah, which is great as a 10. Wow, I really sorry 10 handicaps, but I those stats were kind of based off of what I thought I would do when I was a 10. So kind of hating on myself.
Well, stay tuned next week, everyone, when Gabe insults 20 handicappers.
Exactly. All right. Well, I think that wraps up this week. We got another tournament, and we got a couple. Let's see. When's the next one? The next one I'll be done, and then we have a week and a half break, and then we got another stretch of tournaments. So next podcast, I'll have a tournament update for you. And we got some guest ones coming up, and just a lot of great stuff. Like I said, the season is now beginning. It's still off season. We're still calling it the off season until we're done the winter tour, and then it's the season. But it's shaping up to be good. So anyway,
Right.
Before we go though,
take care, my friend.
Before we go, you did send me a picture of something you bought in a parking lot.
I did, but it was subsequently returned. So
did you actually return it?
It was, yes.
Oh, so it doesn't count?
It doesn't count. It was a moment of weakness followed by a moment of clarity.
Well, it was a couple.
I'm gonna go get.
It was a couple days of weakness, technically.
I'm gonna go get fit.
You're gonna get fit,
and then there'll be a whole Dave fitting.
Dave made a shotgun purchase.
Fitting episode.
I received a picture of a purchase, and I could see the parking lines behind the purchase, knowing that the picture was not taken within the store. The picture was taken in the parking lot after the purchase had been made. But the wrapper never came off, and he had the receipt, so it has been returned, which is unfortunate. So I can't nail you on it. I can't nail you on it.
We're gonna
because you brought it back. You saved your money.
We're gonna leave the mystery out there for the viewers and the listeners, but stay tuned. In a month or so, I'll have a retooled bag for 2024, and we'll see where we go.
Get that credit card warmed up, baby. Anyway, Thank you guys for listening. Appreciate you. And we will catch you on the next one.